Welcome to Artifact Cup 28 semifinals. This is Majiir Paktu speaking. We have just seen Megarith versus Ewaki and Ravenloon versus Fukushima. Those were actually the only games in the quarterfinals because there was one other quarterfinals matchup and that one defaulted to Hyper because JHS was a no-show, had something come up. Which he apologized for, and you know, it wasn't an inconvenience for anybody. It was just unfortunate that we could not see JHS play. But next cup, perhaps, I'll be looking forward to seeing JHS. So in the meantime, we have the semifinals, and the semifinalists are Ewok versus Fukushima from those previous matches that we saw, and Hyper, who made it in by default, versus me, Majiir, who also made it in by default because that's where I was seated. So for both of us, this is our first matchup of the cup, and the map was, let's see, Torn Crater. Probably this one. No, that was a different one. Torn Crater. Here we go. So both of us playing in really similar colors, like almost exactly the same colors. It's just kind of funny. Hyper's Galskin, and I'm playing as the Knef. I'm going to watch this from Hyper's point of view because I don't think there's much point in casting a game that I play in trying to analyze my own moves, because obviously I know my own moves and my own strategies and my own thought process and everything like that. So instead what I'm going to try and do is maybe illuminate a little bit of that, but also show places where Hyper is strong and maybe explain why he overwhelmed me at some points, or explain in areas where he was weak how he could have done better. And hopefully this will be sort of a learning experience for everybody involved. So here's Hyper looking almost exactly like I look in when I play Galcian. He's playing Galcian and has gone for a CU open into RUs, moving out his production cruiser, getting Sandscammer fabrication, keeping his base runner, all the usual kind of stuff. Here I am in the Knef, in my typical colors, which Hyper might say are his Knef colors, and I'm going for CUs here and also expanding to CUs over here. We don't see it yet, but we will as soon as I start. There we go.
Sandscammer fabrication online.
And
support systems initialized.
so Hyper's doing a pretty typical moving out the production cruiser, building salvagers close to the resource point. I do the same thing. I like it.
Get started. Salvage systems initialized.
Just gets them out there a little bit sooner.
Salvager online.
Targeting RU field.
Over here, I have production cruiser coming in with Sandscammers and
Target
blast drones manufacturing.
Advanced
And
target.
Hyper is going for the opposite
Salvager
artifact here. So both of us going for the far... No, sorry, for the near artifact. Hyper going for his near artifact, me going for my near artifact. And Hyper looks like he's pretty aggressively mining RUs. Going for a salt ship fab, which is interesting because the salt ship fab is more of a CU heavy build. Maybe maybe it was also equally CU. I'm not really sure based on what these are doing.
Fleet capacity upgraded.
Move to destination.
Delay rally position.
And so I'm actually going to watch this from Hyper's point of view for vision purposes. We can see that Hyper does see this attack coming in.
Systems offline.
I was going to move the carrier to try and kind of fend it off.
Systems online.
As it happens, I forgot my blast drone.
Grid mark set. Maintain.
These units are retreating, which they probably didn't have to.
Alert. Defense carrier in contact.
Artifact extraction.
These units should have spread, though, because there is a blast drone in there. That blast drone is detonated, and
Salvager lost.
these salvagers are mostly going to go down.
Awaiting. Send command.
A blast drone, when it hits, takes down almost all of the health from a salvager, so Sandskimmers can clean those up pretty quickly. Seeing the blast drone, or even just knowing that you're playing against a Knef player, I would always advise spreading your salvagers. You can actually spread your salvagers around so that they can still mine as normal, but they're less vulnerable to a blast drone. They're more spread apart. If you just right-click and select all and right-click on your salvager, you're not actually going to get that much spread. You're going to have like these two units are always going to be clustered together, and these two are going to be clustered together. But you could have this one like over here and still mining that point. So
Destination locked in. Cruiser confirmed.
assault ship's now coming out for Hyper. which are going to kind of push away my
position updated.
sand skimmers. I'm going to go back to reveal all. He doesn't see how many I
Armored
have.
ship rendered. Rally position designated.
He knows that I have some.
Rally
He
position
knows,
designated.
I guess, that there's a production
Artifact
cruiser here,
extraction
so
confirmed.
that's not too surprising. But he's not resourcing
Cruiser
with
ready.
this production cruiser
Move to
anymore. He's still
destination.
resourcing off of just this one
Ready
point
for
and
deployment.
gets flanked. So,
Salvager is in
in this
contact.
situation, I would say if you're fighting a more agile force,
Advance.
you always want to
Defense alert.
be
Salvager
positioned
destroyed.
defensively. You want to have an assault ship here guarding against that coming in. Another blast drone did come in here. I didn't even see it when I'm watching the replay, but I saw the explosion, and that's why the salvagers were all so damaged and went down so easily.
Defense alert. Heretic forces have
So now
secured an
these
artifact
assault
craft
ships
responding.
are coming across the field,
Targeting CU field.
Cruiser
and
verified.
they're going to be
Command
spotted by
status.
this blast drone. They're actually going to take that out, I
Lack
think.
construction units.
Maybe not.
Salvager online.
But this is really vulnerable. There's no assault ship here
Salvage
defending.
factory.
If there was an assault ship, even just one of these,
Cruiser moving out. Craft ready.
then
Avoiding salvage
I wouldn't be
truck.
able to continue these raids because I would just lose too many sand skimmers, especially
Ready
combined
for
with the carrier
operations.
defenses, which are now at level 2, which is a
Cruiser
good
ready.
choice.
Salvager construction complete.
But this is still a very soft target, especially
Salvage
this.
systems online.
Salvager
So
taking
we should be
fire.
watching that.
Assembly protocols.
Invasion strike craft.
But even without blast drones now, this is just really vulnerable. I am taking quite a few losses here on my sand skimmers,
Salvager lost.
but this is the point at which there was a GG.
This conflict is
But
lost.
I just want to point out, there were assault ships right here. There was nothing here to defend. There was no carrier power. I guess there was some missile system power from an artifact. Isn't a big deal. There was a production cruiser that could have been walking across the field. I think one more assault ship over here would have defended the resourcing against this, especially with the carrier power. These sand skimmers would have all gone down. That would have been very expensive for me. At that point, this production cruiser coming over has plenty of resources, can continue pumping out assault ships. And what did I have for tech? I had also gone assault ships, and I had no real plan for that. I mean, what was I going to do? Build assault ships to fight assault ships? The assault ships are just going to kill the salvagers. So that's a case where I would say Hyper, just try to hold it together a little longer and don't GG at that point. That was too early a GG in my opinion, and at the time I sort of thought, okay, yeah, that is a bit early. I guess I understand why the GG is coming, but I don't think I would have done it in that similar situation. I think I would have held on a little longer. Oftentimes in DOK, you have to just sort of hold on by a thread, and that's true in a lot of RTS where you just have to, everything, the sky is falling, but you just hold on close enough, just a little bit, and you can make it through. In this situation, I think these assault ships, where they went down here, could have done that. I mean, this production cruiser went down all the way over here. It could have been up here with the assault ships, pumping out more. Maybe if there was only one assault ship back here because one was defending, great, you've got one assault ship up here, and you're building another. It's still going to take me out here. Tech-wise, I can't select your carrier anymore, so I can't see if you had railgun tech. If you did, that would have just been auto-GG, but in your favor. But even if you didn't, I think the assault ships would have been enough. I don't think I really had a plan to deal with it. My production cruiser was all the way over here. Yeah, I would have played that out. But in any case, good game. Definitely an early, fast game. We were over in about 5 minutes. So that's to be expected, I think, from an aggressive Knef build if it works. But I would have played that out until at least like 8 minutes. See what happens. Wait until you entirely lose your economy with no ability to rebuild, or until all your units are gone. You never know what can happen at that point. So, game 2, Hyper versus Majiir, is on Dune Sea. Where's Dune Sea? Dune Sea. There we go. So this game,
Acknowledge. Sujupi Bridge.
oh, that confused me, right?
Sacred
Because
site
Hyper has the same
locations,
colors.
Systems online.
So this is still Hyper
Coordinates
in the
verified.
Gaussian. This is on Dune Sea where you have 2 resource pockets,
Carrier
so
systems
the
operation.
resourcing strategy can
Move to
change a bit.
destination.
As we can see,
Maneuvering out.
Command authority recognized.
early resources
Carrier
coming out
systems ready.
from
Base runner
Hyper here,
online.
base runner moving forward. And on my side,
Salvager construction.
Salvager's also
complete.
coming out from both the production cruiser and the carrier.
Salvager online.
And I've said this on my casts
cancelled.
when I was playing these games from this point of view, but
Rally
on
position
Dune
marked.
Sea,
Rally
you can
position
afford to move the
designated.
production cruiser out very early and still have a lot of resources. I
Salvager
like to sort of
online.
keep,
Awaiting
as
command.
Hyper's doing, I like to keep the production cruiser around
Salvager
just
ready
long
for
enough to
assignment.
build enough salvagers.
Salvager online.
And you can see I'm doing the same
Command
thing here. Just keeping it around, using it as another production queue to build these salvagers. But once you do that, you can position your carrier in the middle like this so that you're remote mining off of both points, short distance.
Carrier systems
Hyper doing the
ready.
same thing, so clearly aware of how this can work.
Sandskimmer fabrication online. Acknowledge.
But as soon as those salvagers are built,
Salvager online.
we should be
Awaiting
watching
command.
for when these production cruisers move out from each of us.
Command
Salvager construction complete.
This is a little fun.
base runner advanced.
I've scouted with a blast drone, and now I don't know what to do because, of course, it's a base runner. I can't take that out with a blast drone. So, good scouting here.
Salvager online.
Yeah, I think I decided to take out the scanner with the blast drone. Both of us positioning, again, at our near...
Belay rally position.
Artifacts.
Rally point command rescinded.
So at this
Systems
point-
offline.
Ready for assignment.
Hyper's got
Carrier
6
weapon
salvagers on each
systems
side.
online.
I've got 6 salvagers on each side. Neither of us have any business having our production cruisers back at home. And we're both just sitting there with them. So, that's not good. Tech-wise, I've got
Artifact
Sandskimmer Tech
detected.
pulling
Secure
railguns
the holy
and
site. Defense alert. Heretic
no
forces
big
are
surprises
extracting
there.
artifacts. Artifact
Hyper doing the same
extraction team en route.
thing and actually going to beat me to
Ready for
railgun tech.
operations.
So Hyper so far ahead. I think
Base runner online.
didn't grab the artifact quite. No, maybe he grabbed the artifact sooner. I don't know. Looks like I finally decided to move out my production cruiser, and this is, I think,
Command authority
the
recognized.
critical moment. Like I said before, neither of us had any
Assault
business having our
railgun
production cruisers back
fabrication
home.
online.
I'm finally moving it
Hostile
out,
craft
and I think
detected. Prosecute.
this is what
Research
is
concluded.
going to make
Carrier
this
range
game.
Systems online.
And we'll see how that plays out. I've got a blaster
Okay,
hanging out
so
here,
that is
whatever.
under
That
attack.
doesn't actually matter in this game. I've got some sand skimmers down here. They don't actually matter. 2 sand skimmers, even with the high ground,
Right.
not going to be enough to take out that base runner. He'll get that artifact. I'll get that artifact.
Move to destination.
But this is huge. Because if you don't know Dune Sea, it's got this massive mountain in the middle. I mean, just look at that. This thing is huge. It's just like
Coordinates verified.
you couldn't drive up this. You need a hover tech just to
Defense
get up
alert.
it.
Heretic forces have secured an artifact. Artifact extraction confirmed.
So now Hyper's moving this up.
Defense
I
alert.
accidentally
Cruiser is in contact.
blast droned it, which I didn't mean to
Coordinates
do.
verified.
Hyper has a second production cruiser, so that's really good. But now I have a production cruiser up here with railguns
Coordinates.
on this high ground spot. This is Dune Sea. You
Big
must
defense
control
fleets
this
reach
little ring in here if you want to do anything. So
Base runner
that goes down,
destroyed.
whatever.
Command verified.
This is where everything is happening. The fact that
Point advance
there are
underway.
railguns up here,
Craft
not
ready.
railguns down here, and that this is lower ground means that any kind of engagement that happens here, I just get a bunch more damage. It's easier for me to establish line of sight. It's easier for me to retreat because I can just pull off onto this side or this side or this side and break line of sight. Whereas you can't really break line of sight when you're down here on this slope. You can do it if you're over here. If you approach
Assault
from
railgun service.
this side and just kind of meander up the
Coordinates
crest of this
verified.
dune, you
Hostile
can
railgun
kind of
inbound.
move from
Defense
side to side. But
alert.
here,
Cruiser has been engaged.
even though some of these railguns don't have line of sight, only one does, lots of damage being done here with these little sandskimmer scouts. This fight actually turns out
Invasion
to
strike craft
be in
down.
Piper's favor as far as units lost. I lose 1 sandskimmer, he doesn't lose anything. But you can see just the potential for this engagement to go in the direction of whoever controls the dune. Hyper down here,
Fleet capacity
Carrier
upgraded.
systems ready.
Going for assault ship tech, which I don't think really buys anything.
Systems online.
Has 2 production cruisers.
Destination.
So do I. Hyper had the production cruisers earlier, and so could have perhaps outproduced me, but didn't. And
Ready and waiting.
Production systems online.
that's all I really have to say. You know,
Craft ready.
having more production cruisers is really only valuable if you're going to outproduce, and if you don't choose to, it doesn't do anything for you. So,
Course set.
5 heavy railguns up top, sand skimmer scouts. These don't actually matter as far as firepower. They are purely to gain line of sight. These need to be somewhere else. They need to be over here or over here flanking, or they need to be coming up this meandering dune or something like that. Down in the basin here, on the desert floor, doesn't do anything. Assault railguns don't really do anything. They're going to fight these up. These don't matter for firepower. This is Dune C. All that matters is vision
Hostile railgun
and the high
approaching.
ground.
Awaiting deployment.
At this point, I'm moving forward just to be a little more aggressive, but I'm still controlling this crest. I can still fall behind.
Assault railgun.
These
online.
can't fall behind anywhere. They'd have to go back here. One railgun hit. I mean, really, it's
Assault
multiple
railgun
railguns, but
destroyed. Advance.
this is the high ground advantage here.
Hostile strike
And-
craft
and superior
destroyed.
numbers, but-
Advance. Alert. Defense carrier in
So,
contact.
This is something that Hyper did that I thought was really, really good.
Warning. Carrier hull
It looks like a
passing
desperate move,
75%
but I have to run away.
Carrier
This
repair
carrier
systems online.
is
We adopted
breaking
an artifact
the
signal.
stalemate with
Security.
this dune because I cannot fight this carrier. It's got power. If I let this carrier get close,
Course. Heretic craft
it's going to
detected.
destroy my heavy railguns. My heavy railguns have some armor, but not really much.
Awaiting. Set ground.
This carrier is getting powers of 4. This is really good. This is going to break the dune. I have to
Carrier
retreat.
repair systems offline. Defense alert. Heretic forces have secured an artifact.
However, what's happening here is that this carrier is going to get up on top of the dune,
75%
and
integrity bounce.
nothing's going to be backing it up. These production cruisers need to be walking up the dune behind it. They need to be walking up with assault railguns behind it. Not out here on the open ground, but kind of where they can straddle the dune and hide.
Destination
And if you can do that, you just sit on top and claim the high ground.
New course set.
As it is, I can't really control this anymore. I have to hide behind and just sort of play chicken,
Hostile railguns
looking for an angle wherever I can get one, but staying away from the carrier.
Heretic forces
And the
are extracting
carrier,
an artifact.
I mean, you can see what I'm doing here, and maybe you think I'm being paranoid, but I'm pretty sure I'd lose all these
Carrier
railguns if I
weapon
tried to fight this
systems
carrier
online.
at
Carrier
point blank range.
systems online.
Trying to get whatever angle I can on these, but these are approaching on the wrong side. They need to be approaching in the shadow
Assault
of the
railgun
carrier.
destroyed.
Defense alert. Heretic forces are extracting an artifact.
It's a little hard to capture all the action here
Alert.
because it's over such
Carrier under
large
attack.
distances.
Craft in area respond.
But you can see assault railguns, once they're getting close, are doing some decent work against the heavies. Carrier not really applying any
Hostile
damage yet.
railgun eliminated.
But what's happened here is the carrier's moved off the high ground. Hyper's carrier has sort of ceded the high ground to me again
Advance.
and is moving down.
Ready.
Toward my base.
Level stable.
Heretic
And that was really the
forces
critical
have lost the
mistake in
artifact.
this game.
Bring us round.
I have the high ground again.
Enemy base
This is
runner
all that matters.
destroyed.
This is Dune C. If you're not going air, if it's just a ground war, you have to control the high ground with railguns. And now, all that damage can be laid down. There's nothing threatening these railguns.
Carrier hull
And this
passing
carrier can't really do anything. If
75%
I lose resources, whatever. I have railguns on the high ground. It's Dune C. That's all that matters.
Carrier hull is at half integrity.
Carrier
So
range
I
systems
really, really
offline.
liked the move by Hyper to bring the carrier up there. You just needed to combo it with bringing the railguns and the production cruiser up
Get us
behind it.
moving.
Because this doesn't do anything, even if you destroy all these
Defense alert.
resources.
Heretic forces have secured an artifact.
I can now follow and maintain the high ground wherever I want.
Alert. Carrier is being attacked.
Gotta
Advance.
control that peak.
Bring us round.
Assault railgun
And now this is pretty
online.
much just a
Artifact signal confirmed.
matter of time until all the
Must be
railguns do
seized.
enough
Warning.
damage to take the
Carrier
carrier.
below
So,
25%
interesting game.
integrity
These
danger.
production cruisers, again, back
Rotate
home,
on
building
artillery
railguns.
offer.
Why? They shouldn't be there. They
Defense
should have been on
carrier
top of
lost.
there.
Withdraw.
I think if Hyper were a bit
Your failure
more
will be preserved in
aggressive,
peace.
not necessarily early, but, moving that carrier up was an incredibly aggressive move. Being more aggressive with the production cruisers is, I think, what Hyper needs to do to be able to win games. because with the assault railguns fighting heavy railguns, if they were at close range, the heavy railguns would lose. The assault railguns would just clean that up, and then you've got production cruisers on the top, and you can build heavy railguns. That would have forced me to start trying to flank, to start trying to go air, to start trying to do something to regain control of the situation, because I can't break that very easily. So that was a fairly short 2-game set out of the best of 3. But I would like to see more from Hyper, especially because that carrier move was so good. I think just a little bit of more power with the production cruises would have been very good. So thank you for watching, and that'll send me on to the finals. I will also cast Iwaki versus Fukushima to see which of them will get into the finals. So look forward to those soon.